Yo, what up, Caesar Doubt? What's up, Daylight, Ohio? Let's see here, I don't know. Thought I might play another song, get some more people in here before I start. That way I can smoke some more. Shit. Yeah, I got the idea to do a top 10 red flags someone is like I guess when I first got to doing podcasts, I wanted to expose, because I fell for a bunch of shit in the alternative media that wasn't true. And I got wise to the game over time, and I figured out that, you know, there's some good clues that will lead you to believe that someone who's peddling truth in the truther conspiracy alternative media arena, that they're, you know, bullshitting you or full of shit. Of course, they'll give you a bunch of facts that are true, but, you know, it's all spin and never gets you anywhere. I'm gonna fuck up your life and shut up. I'm gonna play one more song, I think. Smoke a little more. We do like do some Dragon Ball Z. I don't know what kind of music is good to play though, really. Probably not the stuff I like. Probably not the stuff I like. Can't go wrong with this shit.
つからか日々引いて引いた梅雨の雫よりもかすかなささやきだけどいてつく星の矢に紡ぐ祈りが遠いあなたの空に届くように
Well, whatever music I was gonna play, something that's talk shit, doesn't matter. So let's see here. I composed a top 10 list of top 10 in no particular order. Shit. Like basically red flags that you're getting propaganda. You're not getting a real honest person in your podcast or your YouTube experience. I think back in the day, back in the day it was full of shills too. I don't know. Maybe there's more real people now, but their channels are small and yeah, they just parrot what the shills say. Here we go. So this is the top 10. The top 10 red flags. You're getting propaganda listening to a shill. Number 10. Let's see here. I guess I'll go drugs. Okay, this is like pretty obvious one. So I feel like anyone who's done any serious research into conspiracies or alternative viewpoints or all that, whatever you want to call it. Let me move my mic closer. Like one of the first things you should probably figure out is that if you're American, you should figure out that the CIA is importing drugs into the country, right? So they're behind they imported cocaine from South America, heroin from Afghanistan, etc. They've been caught red-handed. Gary Webb was an investigative journalist who he did, was it a book? He wrote something called Dark Alliance, I think it was a book called Dark Alliance, just totally exposing the CIA and their drug trafficking ways. And there's also there's a guy by the name of Barry Seal who's going to testify against the CIA for being involved in smuggling drugs. I think he was a pilot involved in moving cocaine from South America to importing it into America. And this guy's going to testify in court the day he's like literally on the court steps going to testify against the CIA, and he gets taken out by like a machine gun or some shit. Then Laurel Canyon and the CIA is behind Laurel Canyon's ties to the military, with Jim Morrison's dad was like a general in the Army or the Navy or something. Navy, I think it's Navy. I could be getting that wrong. He was a top-ranking military official. Then the Grateful Dead. I don't know. Freeman Fly, he's always saying. Phil Leach of the Grateful Dead was a CIA agent, and they were promoting LSD. And so I feel like anyone in the alternative media conspiracy arena, they should know that the government wants us on these drugs. Like, the government is promoting drugs. They have shit like Cheech and Chong to promote marijuana use and stuff. But still, there's so many people in the alternative media that promote drug use, and it's totally pathetic. Oh shit, I'm sitting here doing it right now. Damn it. I've cut back on drinking a lot. But I thought I'd treat myself tonight and have some fun. I like drinking when I'm doing hangouts and talking because I have really bad social anxiety, but so I guess I'm a shell shit. But like I seen Jay Dyer, he started doing live hangouts recently, and he's been on Red Ice Radio, which is pretty suspicious. I don't know, we'll get more into Red Ice Radio maybe later. But Jay Dyer was doing a hangout, and he just talked about LSD trips. And there's the guy who runs Truth Frequency Radio. His name's Chris Geo, and he just he'll just take DMT or LSD or mushrooms or something, and then he'll trip out and write in a journal, and then he'll do a whole podcast about his trip. And they're basically promoting drug use. So anyone promoting the use of drugs is obviously, that's a huge red flag. And I think when I was younger, I fell for the idea that I think they promote it, but they promote drugs to the people who are kind of more intelligent, and they realize that we're being lied to, and they promote it in a way that the system illegalizes drugs because they don't want you to do it, because it will give you consciousness and mind awakening experiences, and it'll help you wake up to the truth by doing LSD and all that. But I think nothing could be further from the truth, and it just makes you a useless junkie tool that is more dependent on the state than ever. And it's all about getting us dependent on shit, whatever it is, be it, your cell phone or whatever, your car. That's the name of the game, is being dependent on the state for shit. That's why the world government is into socialism. So, and especially now, like, it's really obvious in hip-hop how that hardcore they're promoting drug use with these songs about Percocets and all this crap. So, any conspiracy alternative media researcher promoting drug use is probably a fraud. He's full of shit. Like, he should know better than that, in my opinion. If you're to the point where you feel like you're gonna share your information on a podcast or something, you should know by then that the government wants us on these shitty drugs like alcohol and stuff. Cheers. See what's up in the chat. First red flag is they will have a red flag. Seeds of doubt. I am against the history of slavery. If they did not have cotton pickers, we would have less clothes and more nudity. Alright. Number 9. That's so fucking corny. Oh shit. So the next thing I have on my list is aliens. And when I was growing up in the 90s, most of these there's so many conspiracy shows about UFOs and aliens, and the government is trying to cover up, the military is trying to cover up aliens, and I bought all this crap. I'm watching television shows telling me that the military is trying to cover up the existence of extraterrestrials. But then, you know, when I'm like in my 20s, that they come out on the History Channel saying ancient aliens, and they're now promoting the idea that aliens are real. And the military owns stake in the History Channel. So it's funny because they came out with all these TV shows saying the military was trying to cover up aliens. And there's all these like stories that are leaked of like in World War II, the pilots seeing Foo Fighters. I myself have had experience seeing a UFO, although it wasn't a spaceship. It was just like kind of like ball lightning. I would describe it as a little blue orb of light. So it's just funny that like all these shows in the 90s were saying the military is against aliens and trying to cover it up, but then the military is promoting a show that says aliens are real and all this on the History Channel with the ancient aliens, and trying to make it more legitimate. It's on the History Channel. It's not on Fox, you know, at night, prime time on Sightings or something. So when they introduce, let's say they want to make something legitimate, like they want us to believe in aliens, I feel like they'll market it to a niche group of people. They'll market it to the conspiracy crowd, saying that the military is trying to cover up and doesn't want you to know, but there's these whistleblowers and all this stuff leaking this information. And so they start out, they get a small niche of people believing it, and then just like as they build credibility, all of a sudden you got alien shows on the History Channel. And it's just like a slow, it's funny how that, I think it's funny how they do that, how they introduce ideas, a new idea into the population. They use a niche group and they keep building and building it, and they use, often as a technique, they try and censor things, because they know that if something is censored, we will try and seek it out. I remember in high school I learned that there's these certain books in the library that if you checked them out, it would signal something that would alert the government, that you, like the CIA, that you checked these books out. So I went to the library and checked all these books out. One of them was actually the Bruce Lee book, The Tao of Jeet Kune Do. One of them was this book about hacking that I tried to read, but it was like way too over my head. But shit, I lost my train of thought. Shit. Totally lost my train of thought. Anyways, oh yeah, how they like to market things by like acting like they're censor. It's like a taboo, the anarchist cookbook and stuff like that. And people have a tendency to kind of, if something's exclusive or you're not supposed to know about it, that attracts people to it, and they use that to bait us into things like aliens. And there's so many shows growing up about trying to like brainwash us to believe in aliens, and alien things works really good. It works just like religion or like a god, because you have someone who's being abducted by an alien, and then they start a little kooky cult, and it's like, that's the problem with religion, I think, is, okay, if you have a middleman between you and God, right? And so like there's a man in the middle telling you how to live your life, because God, he can interpret God's word better than you in the Bible or whatever. And that's how an alien cult will operate, right? Where there'll be a middleman. I'm being abducted by an alien. The Alex Collier, remember that guy? I'm being abducted by an alien, so I'll come on. I'm saying the aliens are telling me this, and like, how can you question me? You know what I'm saying? If the aliens are telling me this, and then I can tell the alien said, you should only eat meat or only eat vegetarian diet because animals have souls or whatever BS, You can't question me because you're not being abducted by the alien. The alien's not telling you shit. Or back in the day, you couldn't question the priest because you couldn't read Latin, and the Bible was in Latin, and the Mass was said in Latin, and you just had to. The priest could tell you, like, the Bible said God wants you to fucking suck my dick, and how are you gonna question the priest? So that's how that shit works. It's pretty clever. I remember back in the day when I was doing my research, there's one really obvious CIA alien shill, Dr. Stephen Greer. This guy is a total bullshitter. Yeah, he works for the CIA. I'm pretty sure. It's been so long since I did the research, but yeah, there's lots of examples of bullshitters. With the alien Alex Collier I mentioned earlier. Excuse me. Alright, that covers that, I guess. Number 8. I feel like reading the chat a little bit first, though. Sean G has... Oh, that's... Why do you hating on Sean G, man? He's nice. Why are you so weird, P. Mars? Why am I weird? The reason I'm weird is because I've never had friends, so I've never been influenced by other people, so I'm an individual. And everyone is a group thinking moron. Seeds of Doubt is talking about oxygen is considered a drug. Yeah, like there's oxygen bars, I guess. That's why Sovereign Gamer, that's why Rogan promotes weed and DMT. They are good, but if you get your mind hijacked by some dark fucking spider entity. Sovereign Gamer, you know what's interesting about that? I mentioned Chris Geo earlier, the guy who runs Truth Frequency Radio. I was exposing him back in the day. And he started on Blog Talk Radio, and he got Joe Rogan as a guest when he was a nobody, and he had done very few shows. So I think he's connected, because Joe Rogan, he works for UFC. He did the UFC, which is military. He worked for NBC, which NBC is a military-industrial complex. So Joe Rogan is a military guy, comedian. We know, like, if you study propaganda, that a lot of the propaganda is given to us in comedy. Joe Rogan's a comedian. Joe Rogan's been on news radio, television shows, you know. So Joe Rogan's always been promoted, and Joe Rogan promoted this Chris Geo guy, which means that they're both a part of the club. And like, why would? And of course, Chris Geo talks about all the stuff Joe Rogan talks about. Like, yeah, Joe Rogan promotes drugs and sensory deprivation chambers and all this shit. Yo, what's up, Sia? Seeds of Doubt is talking about the Dark Knight satellite. I looked into that a lot, and apparently that the Dark Knight satellite was just what was it? It was like a black tarp or something that yeah, I guess it wasn't. There's nothing to that black light. Dark Knight satellite or black. It's Black Knight. I have to talk closer into the mic. What's up, Darkstar? Do you wanna talk about demons? We've been meaning to do that forever. Maybe I should just hold my mic like my mic's really dirty. It'll be like Mark Sargent. Yeah, Mark Sargent. Give me a wrench, fat boy. Am I still fat? Shit, man. Whatever. Okay, I got sidetracked. Number 8. Brr. So we're talking about red flags that the podcast or person you're listening to is a bullshitter, propagandist, agent, motherfucker, Freemason, Zionist, reptilian, shapeshifter. I look thin. Okay, my number 8 red flag is they dehumanize a group of people. One of the big ones is the Jews. Back in the day, me and Darkstar, I met Darkstar listening to Oracle Broadcasting, which is where Chris Geo, before he had Truth Frequency, he was on Oracle. That's where Chris Geo was. There was a bunch of alternative media, conspiracy topics, some new age, a lot of Patriot stuff on Oracle Broadcasting. Met Darkstar there, and it was decent radio hosts for a while. And what was it, about 1.5 to 2 years into it, it went into just anti-Jew. And my name on there in the chat was Patrick Marsface. And when they started just bashing the Jews all the time, I was like, hey guys, that's ridiculous. You know, the government probably wants you to blame the Jews so you look like a Nazi. And a Nazi, it's funny because we're not allowed to hate any group of people except for Nazis. I just think, I mean, not that I like Nazis or think it's bad to hate Nazis, but I just think it's funny that, I guess maybe like pedophile, like, but just like the groups of people that were allowed to hate Nazis, we're allowed to hate Nazis. And if you blame Jews for everything, people are going to think you're a Nazi. And that's what they want. They want, you're discrediting yourself. So if you tell people, you know, 9/11 was an inside job, and you know the banks, the money's a scam. You know, the Rothschilds own all the money to control all the central banks. So then you tell them a bunch of real things, and then you throw in, and the Jews run the world and control everything. Fuck the Jews. People are going to dismiss all the legitimate, factual information you told them, and it goes into it's just wrong to dehumanize a group of people. It starts a slippery slope where it leads to concentration camps. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know how. I mean, you shouldn't. You know, it's okay to, I guess, dehumanize maybe like these psychopaths that run the world and do all this fucked up shit and kill babies. Like, screw them. But they don't really come. Like, the thing is, the New World Order is a multi-headed hydra. So if you cut off, you know, the Jews, you kill all the Jews. They're still bad people. Like, they're not in one race of people. They're not one organization. It's like this. It's really evil. It's like this seed of evil that's in humanity, the psychopathic nature in humans that they rise to the top. The one guy, he wrote that book called Ponerology, which is the study of evil, and I need to read that. So I've been meaning to read that for a while. So it's not in any one group of people. And so if any like researcher or podcast person is trying to dehumanize a group of people, whatever group that it is, you know, they're full of crap. They're misleading you. They're propaganda. They're subscribing to the 2 minutes of hate, like 1984. And it's weird. It's weird how people will unite in their hatred, but it is actually a good way to unite people. You know, that tribe over there, people, they wanna you know, take your women, and they said your mamas are fat, and then everyone will hate them. You know, it's funny how easily controlled we are. Yeah, so you shouldn't dehumanize people or groups of people. Let's see what's up in the chat. Do I condone snitching? I don't know. I think that's situational. But in general, tattletaling isn't cool. But I mean, in certain situations, you probably should. Yo, what's up, Isa? Alright, let's play my lame graphic that I'm stealing. It says free, right? So I'm not like free top 10 countdown template number 5. Number 7! This is so fucking corny. Oh, my number 7 reason, red flag that someone is an agent or whatever. I don't know what you want to call it. I don't like the word shill, because shill just means you're kind of like selling something, I guess. But they don't necessarily have to sell things to be an agent, because they could just promote bullshit ideas. Gets promoted is, where are we, number 7, I think? Gets promoted. So, in my opinion, okay, so like I've done a lot of research, and like there's a book called CIA and the Cultural Cold War, where this lady, she's very well educated. She went to like Oxford. She sounds really snobby. She sounds like the Rumpus if you listen to her talk. Excuse me. And she's saying like Jackson Pollock, all these obscure artists back in the day, all these like authors back in the day were CIA. And if you think about it, back then, you know, art and art still today is controlled and has an effect on people, but back in the day before television more so. But all these people that you wouldn't think were working for the government, like they were using art to subvert people, to alter people's opinions and emotions and philosophy. And a lot of these artists are connected to the CIA. And that was sort of like the way for propaganda to work back in the day. And today, modern day, they don't. I'm sure they still do that to some extent, but it's more so, internet is the big thing now. So people that get promoted on the internet, radio shows, mainstream television shows, anything that any person who's allowed to go on television is. Sometimes I think they let real people on television to mock them, or if they think the person's an idiot and they can use their, they can talk real slick and make them look stupid. I think sometimes, I don't know. I think very rare. I would say almost never a real person gets on television or mainstream radio, because I think they have their controlled opposition people go on there and look like morons, which is what like Mark Sargent did when he got on the BBC Good Morning Britain or whatever. Just, I'm going to go on there and look like an idiot. No problem. So, and when you get, it's not just being promoted in the mainstream. Like, if you're promoted in the alternative media, like if you're a guest on Alex Jones' show, if you're on Coast to Coast, if you're on Truth Frequency Radio, like, I think people that that's why it's called weaving spiders, because these people are all members of fraternal orders, and a lot of these fraternal orders, I believe, are connected at the top, right? It's a pyramid. So they're all promoting each other, and anyone who's real or anyone who's not a part of their fraternal order, they will just ignore you and marginalize you. There's a documentary called Spin where it showed very clearly that like this guy who was running for president, and he was a real person. He wasn't a member of a fraternal order, and he was polling, even though he was polling higher numbers than some of the people, they would let some people on TV that weren't getting as many votes as this guy, just because he wasn't a part of the game, the system. You know what I'm saying? So their main way of I believe they ignore real people are not allowed to get big followings, to get a lot of subscribers, to get a lot of I think that's a red flag. If you have a lot of people watching your channel, subscribing to you, following you, if you get on TV, red flag. You are probably a part, because the system's promoting you. It's weaving spiders. Pretty big red flag. And I would say, like, for all of these, it's not like one red flag means if you're guilty of one of these, because I'm guilty of the first one, promoting drug. But if you're hitting like 3, 4, 5 of these things, you're probably an agent. All right. Burn the Glovers, says Isa. I've heard of your culling. Someone was talking about your culling show, Isa. I said I hope they don't get culled. This culling thing is real. Like, Isa did a show about the global. What if the Globers are gonna get culled and the Flat Earthers are gonna be left on the flat Earth? I'm sorry, it's funny to me. I mean, it's not funny. We're all gonna die. It sucks because they want depopulation is legit. They plan by 2050 to have a large reduction in population. Just saying, good luck, everyone. Good luck surviving that shit. It's real. Number 6. Promotes the selling of gold and silver. Yeah, Darkstar, Globers, people who believe the Earth is a globe. Oh man, I love the flat Earth. I don't know what it is. I'm crazy, I guess. I don't know. But I like that flat earthers are anti-science because I am anti-science since I believe science I don't know, I shouldn't get into that. Yeah, you guys all know that. So we're number 6. Sells gold or silver. So one of the first things when I was getting into researching conspiracies was one of the first documentaries I watched was called The Money Masters. And I recommend anyone who hasn't seen The Money Masters, it's a really awesome documentary. Great documentary. So The Money Masters explains how, we have fiat currency and the whole money system is pretty fraudulent. It's like a rigged game. There's no way to win. Even a guy like Bill Gates, he has a lot of money, but he has no money compared to someone like I can't think of the name, but like the Rothschilds, right? One of the Rothschilds on his deathbed, they asked him how much money they had, and he said, like, I couldn't even tell you how many zeros there are. Like, these people, these wealthy international banking cartels have, like, they own everything. So money is such a rigged. It's like this idea that if you work hard, you can be rich and achieve all this. Like, people who are even billionaires, they are shit compared to people with real money. A lot of the money is just owned by a few amount of people. We're all just basically owned. Like, this money system is fucked. It's set up to fuck us, and a lot of like truthers will tell you that, and then they'll say buy gold and silver because that's real money. Well, that's bullshit too, because money used to be based on gold and silver. Well, not. I think the gold. We used to be on the gold standard in America. I think coins used to be made of silver in Rome, but what they would do, they started cutting it, and so originally it'd be like 100% silver, and then 70% silver, 40% silver, and then finally it's like 5% silver or something at the end when their economy's collapsing. These like international banking cartels, the Rothschilds, they control the value. They control how much gold and silver is worth. So you're not really any better off putting your money in gold and silver. I mean, like, if you would have invested a lot in gold in the 90s, you would have made a lot of money. But my dad is a CPA, and I asked him about this, and he said, if you were to invest in something, it's best to invest in silver because during an economic collapse, silver has more practical use than gold. Gold is more ornamental. It's also used in high technology like computers and space travel. But it's not as practical as silver. Like, silver is just more useful, so it would retain more value during an economic collapse, where gold's more ornamental. So they tell you to buy gold. And that's a bunch of bullshit. So that is another red flag. They promote the gold and silver bullshit. Let's see here. All right. Number 5. I should do more research for my shows. Like, I used to actually do research for this stuff. No, just fuck around. Number 5, I have They sell fake health products. By this, Alex Jones has colloidal silver. I don't know. Snake oil salesmen. There's endless amounts of bullshit. Everyone knows there's endless amounts of bullshit health products on the market, whether they're conspiracy or mainstream. And the mainstream has all these fad diets. The way to be healthy is to... I've been thinking a lot lately about like what really matters in life, and I've been thinking about health is wealth. Health is one of the most important things, right? And it's more valuable than money. And then time. That time is money. Time and health will give you more time. Those are the most valuable things in life, and nothing can replace. Like I don't know. I've listened to Cynthia talk about this gut health thing, and I just think drinking alcohol, which is not good for that, but yeah, I think having a healthy gut health, eating a healthy, nutritious diet, supplementing, because the food we have today doesn't have the amount of nutrients that it used to. So even if you eat a healthy diet, you still need to supplement with vitamins, because you're not getting the vitamins and minerals in your food, even if you eat healthy. I think eating healthy and exercise is gonna be better than any like pill or anything someone's gonna sell you. That's the key to health, and a lot of these health. I'm sure some of the health, like I guess this is technically a health product, and I buy this, but I think some of the health products are decent. Like I think vitamins, supplements, some supplements. Not all. Some supplements are probably, a lot of supplements are bullshit, but I do think that getting our micronutrients and our macronutrients, getting a good diet and exercising, like that's gonna help you with 90% of whatever health issues people have. In my opinion. So you don't. I don't know. I think I made my point. Shit. Getting drunk. Number 4. Do I have more than 10 here? Okay. Dark Star says colloidal silver is good stuff, like an antibiotic without the side effects. See, I didn't do a lot of research for this show. I'm just kind of winging this, and you could be right, Dark Star. I don't know. I haven't done the research, but I'm just saying. I'm just speaking in general. I'm giving out red flags. Number 4, yeah. So no solution talk and fear porn. I wrote for number 4. So what I see a lot of people just like to highlight problems, and they don't like to talk about many solutions. And I mean, you could say that about me too. I think it's hard. I try to offer some solutions. I think I talk about like being unpredictable is one. I don't know, eating healthy, I guess, is a solution. But it's hard. Solutions are, I will admit, are hard to think of, and it's easy to criticize people and say you need to offer solutions. It's really hard to think of solutions because we're in a horrible mess. People are fucking retarded, brainwashed. It's fucked. Society is totally fucked. So it's really hard to think of solutions when, things are the way they are. But if you just sit there and talk about the problem all the time, I mean, that's basically what the mainstream media does, is fear porn. It's just fear this, buy this product because, you know, you don't want to. They sell you stuff through fear. They sell you ideas through fear, and it's not gonna do any good to be in a constant state of fear. I think a good podcast host or a good YouTube channel will empower you to be fearless. Like, you shouldn't have. I mean, no, everyone's gonna have fear, but it's important to work on conquering your fears and attempting to not be fearless, because, like, philosophically, if you think about it logically, what's worse, to get eaten by a tiger or to spend your whole life being afraid of being eaten by a tiger? You know? At least, like, if you got eaten by the tiger doing what you love or not being afraid or something, you know, you put yourself out there and you did your best. But if you spend your whole life being afraid of being eaten by the tiger and you just sit in your house afraid to go outside, like, that's no way to live. So everyone's going to have a fear, but you got to attempt to conquer your fears, and they try and keep us in a state of fear to keep us, like, weak and powerless. Number 3. Oh, shit. Number 3, use of propaganda techniques. I think this is hilarious. So people should study propaganda. Okay, repetition, that's one of the most basic forms of propaganda. But, like, you look at like Alex Jones. When I started listening to Alex Jones, it was just a podcast. You could just hear him, and yeah, he had all the commercials and stuff. But now Alex Jones is like CNN. He's got the scrolling banner. He's got the flashy lights and everything. Like, you study the propaganda techniques. Look at, like scary music is one. If you play a video and you play scary music, that affects your emotions. If you're really an honest person doing research, I think I don't want to. I mean, maybe I use propaganda techniques in my video, but I don't intentionally do it. I research the propaganda techniques, but I don't think it's good to play, like, if I were to play scary music right now while I'm talking, because I think it will take away credibility from whoever does stuff like that. Because anyone who knows about propaganda techniques, they're gonna, like me, if I see you using them, I'm gonna be like, why don't you just let the facts speak for themselves and just say things that are true? You don't have to use a technique or try and manipulate me with some, like, cheap little trick. Number 2. For here I have affiliated with fraternal orders. I like listening to Christian conspiracy people, and a lot of times I'll see someone saying, like, "Oh, I'm an ex-Satanist." You know, I used to be a werewolf, or I used to be a vampire. Now I'm a born again Christian, or I used to be a Freemason, but that stuff was boring, and now I'm a truther. Or I used to work for the CIA, but now I don't work for the CIA. I'm here to tell you the truth. I would say don't believe any of those people. I think these fraternal orders are behind a lot of these networks of propaganda. I think these propaganda people meet in the fraternal orders, and that's where they, like, learn a lot of this techniques of mass psychology. They learn, I think, like, hand signs, like doing things like this has a subconscious effect on the audience. And, like, I see, okay, Vegan Warrior is a guy. and Vegan Warrior I'll talk about on for reason number 1. Vegan Warrior, I seen him on Bro Sanchez's or Dread's panel, and he's just going like this, like all the time. Oh, every time I talk, I just naturally do this, and everyone on TV does that. And you look at their hand signs, and if you know about neuro-linguistic programming, that they're communicating through body. There's body language and verbal communication, and so someone could say something verbally and then do something with their body language to mess with your subconscious and kind of influencing you without you knowing they're influencing you. And that's what I think they're doing when they're doing stuff like that. And Vegan Warrior does that stuff, and he was a part of like a famous fraternal order where a lot of famous people are from. And I think that these things are taught in fraternal orders or something. I'm not really sure how it works. I'm just speculating here. I guess maybe I shouldn't speculate. But that is a sign someone is an agent. Let's go to my number 1. My number 1, I have they promote the agenda of the elite. So I think one of the most obvious examples I could show with that is if you look at Agenda 21, they don't want us eating meat in the future. I remember Michael Sarian said that people were used to not eat meat, and some cataclysm happened, and then people started eating meat because they went mad due to the cataclysm, and we lost all of our psychic abilities from eating meat. You have Patricia Steer, Vegan Warrior, Eric Dubé promotes veganism. There's a lot of like promotion of eating vegetarian or vegan diet and promoting that it's bad for the environment. And this goes to Agenda 21. So if these people are truthers, researchers, reading, they should know about Agenda 21, and they shouldn't push. Like if that's what if you can eat whatever you want, I don't care what you want to eat, but I think all these like fad diets and health tips are bullshit. Like it comes down to just like really like I think the healthy gut biome, the healthy gut bacteria, that's very important. Like realizing that there's bacteria in your body and feeding the healthy bacteria and not feeding the bad bacteria. This is important things. And it's not about like, oh, don't eat meat, it's immoral, or eat vegetarian. That's stupid shit. It's propaganda from Agenda 21. They want to like convince us to have a vegetarian diet because it's better for the environment. And got some evidence for that I'm allowed to. Let's see. I'm allowed to play this. I asked if I can mirror. I asked if I can mirror this. I think this is a really good video. This is by a guy named Agent Detective. Let's see here. There we go. He put together some good research. Like, I've been busy playing poker all day, not researching. Back in the day, I would have done a lot of research and had a better show, but now I'm old. I don't give a fuck, and I'm just drinking and winging this shit. So, I don't know. If anyone wants to have a chat, I'll open up a panel and we can chill out. But I'm gonna play this and I'll show you Agenda 21 and the vegan thing. And when they're promoting Agenda 21, it's a good tip. Red flag. Gotta chill, guys.
You want answers? You can't handle the truth!
a riddle. What do Good Girl singer Carrie Underwood and Anne Hathaway, Mike Tyson, Natalie Portman, Russell Simmons, Betty White, Russell Brand, Lea Michele, and Ellen have in common? Yeah, they're all vegan. Former Vice President Al Gore, yep, Gore's gone vegan. Al Gore, considered perhaps the biggest crusader against global warming ever since his movie An Inconvenient Truth. Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates now funding businesses that are developing alternatives to meat, mayo, and eggs. Former President Bill Clinton has adopted a plant-based diet.
I asked the top scientists on this several times, do we really have to get down to near zero? The temperature will continue to rise. First, we've got population. Now, the world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, health care, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
That's one of the fastest growing food movements, and now a new study shows that 1 in 5 of us in the UK would consider a vegan diet. There are now 500,000 vegans in the UK, and the diet has risen by 250% in the last decade. Well, as well as being cited for its health benefits, veganism is said to have positives on the planet. So should we all be going vegan?
The startup is researching plant products that can replace meat. Impossible Foods garnered media attention after receiving massive investments from Bill Gates and Hong Kong tycoon Li Ka-shing.
We're not here for small change. We're interested in very large, ambitious change to transform the food system.
It was so delicious. It's called the Impossible Burger, and it tastes like meat. It bleeds like meat, but it looks like meat, but it's actually made of like beets and other things.
McDonald's has good business intentions to try to turn a profit. They're against the trend of the world wanting to become healthier. There's actually more and more fast casual Chipotle-style restaurants that have been started by very, very successful, smart technology executives who've also realized the benefits of a diet change, such as Veggie Grill and Native Foods.
Introducing Wendy's new Black Bean Burger.
Wendy's burger without any meat?
You're right. This is definitely a burger.
In the human world, celebrities Alicia Silverstone, Joaquin Phoenix, and Dennis Kucinich have all gone vegan.
Poor hungry little vegan doggies.
But like Chloe Joe, her dogs eat apples, bread, and all kinds of tofu.
It's been a big change in their personalities. They're much more docile.
Investment banker Jonathan Grill is raising his 3 cats vegan.
They became vegan basically the day I became vegan. I just couldn't fathom giving them anything I wouldn't eat myself.
Many parents are making the decision to raise their children as strict vegans.
We found out that it is, in fact, very healthy and appropriately.
I like how that girl's like, they're much more docile, like me. It's like, so you're feeding your pets this vegan diet and they become docile. Do you think maybe you became docile too? Oh no, that's just in the animals. It doesn't affect me the same way because I'm a human. I'm not an animal.
Planned vegan diet is appropriate for all life stages.
I feel it's the healthiest choice for her.
Eric believes raising Adia as a vegan will help her in the long run.
This is not hippie philosophy. This is science, and the science today is showing that in well-respected journals, well-respected doctors, shows that this is the most healthy diet.
There are advantages to raising kids as vegans.
If properly planned, it's a really healthy way of eating. And in fact, what's very nice about it is that these kids at a very young age are learning to appreciate fruits, vegetables, whole grains.
As for Adia and Gabriel enjoying their green smoothie popsicles for dessert, they're all smiles.
Well, to help supplement their vegan diet, both children take a B12 vitamin.
Should they stop eating dairy products? Should they be vegans?
Well, certainly one's diet does benefit the environment more the more one cuts down on animal products. So yes, to reduce dairy as well as meat is certainly a good move for the planet.
A new report puts a dollar value on good health and the environment and claims less meat eating could save the global economy $1.5 trillion. A widespread switch to vegetarianism would cut emissions by nearly 63%. And a similar adoption of veganism would cut them by 70%.
I've gone from vegetarian to vegan. I took a cue from what Dagan was doing as well, and it's incredible. Plant-based food's really good.
Now let's see what vegans eat.
In her new series, telly chef Nigella Lawson puts on a mouth-watering buffet of vegan sweetmeats.
I've really intellectually come down to the idea that it is correct, that we should be vegetarian and probably vegan.
She was actually a vegan.
But did you know eating about half a kilo of beef has the same effect on global warming as driving a car more than 100 kilometers?
Since Craig is a vegan, we invited one of New York City's, we'll fix that in a second, award-winning vegan chefs to show us how to make some delectable dishes. But we promise even meat lovers are going to, might as well sing it, are gonna love this.
So why don't you eat meat?
For me, it was mainly the health reasons. So I did a bit of my own research, and veganism came up along the way, and it kind of sparked a light bulb.
Not only a college student, but she's also a raw vegan.
A pasta and ice cream alternative that is completely natural. This way, you are keeping out all the animal products, eating all fruits and vegetables, and it's absolutely delicious.
Feeling a little bit more healthy, maybe.
Yeah,
especially now that summer's around the corner and this type of stuff you can go pick up at the farmer's market.
And you can fight those cravings. You don't have to indulge in things that won't make you feel good, but you can eat delicious food and feel good at the same time.
Experts say a plant-based diet can be the way to go.
You're getting high-quality protein from things like beans, quinoa, grains, soy products, tofu.
The city of LA wants you to go meatless on Mondays. Byron, pay attention. City Council has unanimously approved a resolution to declare all Mondays in LA as Meatless Monday. It's all part of an international campaign to encourage people to go vegetarian at least one day a week. Backers claim eating less meat is better for your health and the environment.
This Go Veggie cream cheese, it tastes like the real thing. It's cultured like the real thing. And so no one ever misses anything. And there's no cholesterol.
And for people who might not know, vegan versus vegetarian.
It's a great
vegan means absolutely no animal product whatsoever, including eggs, milk, all that.
Exactly. So there's amazing new products like the Go Veggie cream cheese where you can just eat it, you can feed it to your friends. No one will feel like they're sacrificing.
And they probably won't know because this is great.
Oh, good.
A lot of this is talking about veganism will cut back on carbon emissions, and see, this is the problem I have with science. People aren't seeing these people promoting science are not seeing what's going on. But they're gonna use science to, well, they already have, they're using it to alter how we live our lives, and that's what the point, that's what they did with religion. They said, live your life this way because God wants you to live this way. Now, today, they go, live your life this way because of this fact. Facts have replaced God. Facts dominate our life, just like God. And they have facts for everything. It's Aleister Crowley, do as thou wilt, love is the... Do as thou wilt shall be the whole... Or what is it? Love is the law... Do as thou wilt. I can't remember it now. It's basically do what you want, and they have facts for whatever you want. Whatever you want to believe, there's a fact for it. So you can rationalize your junky existence. Oh, it's okay, I drink a glass of wine with a meal because it's healthy for me. As I sip my beer here. Okay, so we have some good questions in the chat here. Dad, Bod, and the keyboard Carls asked me why I hate people that's not a life to live. I kind of agree with him. Well, humans are social animals. But the thing is, like, to be a part of the society, the social animals, you have to conform. And you lose your individuality. You cannot maintain your individuality if you join a group of people, because all that people will, you will define who you are based on what these retards tell you what you are. It's really, you have to be so strong-willed to avoid that, because we're social animals. So he says, why not just let them be fake and ignore it? Why do you feel the need to be some sort of vigilante? That's not a life to live. Here's the thing, man. What's that scene in the I love that scene in the Matrix. Matrix. Shit, what is that guy's name? Cypher?
Do we have a deal, Mr. Reagan?
You know, I know this steak doesn't exist. I know that when I put it in my mouth, the Matrix is telling my brain that it is juicy and delicious. After 9 years, you know what I realize? Ignorance is bliss.
Then we have a deal.
I don't want to remember nothing. Nothing. You understand? I don't want to be rich. You know, someone important. Like an actor.
Whatever you want, Mr. Reagan.
So, if you sell out like Patricia Steer here and Eric Sargent, the point of that scene is, man, like I can't just pretend I don't know what I know and enjoy it. Like, I can't just go and be ignorant and be around these people and just pretend like nothing's wrong. You can't just unknow what you know. That's why this guy who's woken up to the Matrix, he says ignorance is bliss. It's yeah. It's you can't really enjoy, like, I could go and get anything I want theoretically, except for what I really want. Because what I really want is something real, and there's nothing real in our society. Our society is so fake. It's fake. That drives me insane. So I drink because I'm in pain. I work with Savage. Just kidding, I only eat butter. Oh, good joke. I need to find Jesus. Did you see ODD said Jesus is Saturn? That's a cool video. Son of Saturn. There's ODD reality. Oh! I just want to show pictures, man, so people know I'm not lying. But he basically says Jesus is Saturn, and or Saturn's like the hidden god. Yeah, Seeds of Doubt. There's hardly any honest people. The reason why there's not very many honest people is because honesty gets rewarded with being exiled. If you are an honest person, Discord groups will exile you, and then your fake friends won't give a shit, and they'll be like, oh, we're your friend, but yeah, you shouldn't have been exiled, that's wrong. But we're not going to stand up for you or say shit about it. I'm so bitter. But it's annoying because all I do is say things that are true and try and empower people and make them less retarded, and they get mad at me. Fuck's sake, dude. And they're like, you're so negative. You're so negative. Why do you just talk about the negative? Be positive. I don't feel like a slave. Shit, man. Oh, it's like, good for you. I'm glad you feel great. I'm glad you feel great being a slave. An ignorant slave fucking moron. I'm glad. I'm sorry I'm trying to inform you that you're ignorant as shit and you don't know anything. I'm sorry that's offensive. I'll be politically correct and I'll conform to your social norms, and then I'll just parrot your fucking bullshit so you feel comfortable, you fucking loser. Why don't you like try and challenge yourself for once in your goddamn fucking life instead of making everything fucking easy? Oh, let's just have it on easy mode. Oh, the point of life is to just fucking make everything easy and then die. Fucking losers. Like, no one wants to fucking challenge themselves. Pathetic. Why do I hate people? Fucking lazy, pathetic losers, dude. And you know what's funny? They're so vain. They're so concerned with how they look and shit like that, but they don't give a fuck with how they look on the inside. They're like, I just want to have muscles and be like, never read a book. Like, for real, dude. Oh my god. But I mean, if you guys enjoy this, I guess, I mean, it's easy to get laid. It's easy to get off. You got every drug available to you. You know, you can be. I guess this is an awesome society if you want to be a junkie, burnout loser. Fucking great. This is like paradise for you. Hold up, I got a PM. Someone PM'd me. What? We can have a conversation? Sweet. Looks like we're gonna have a conversation, guys. I need to go to the bathroom. What is this? Not supposed to show that. Alright, I'll add you, I say. Here, give me a second. I gotta go to the bathroom. Let me play. What should I play? Some stupid song or something? I don't know. I don't know how to fucking play, god damn it. Oh yeah, I know. The Seki Ninja. Shoot, what's that guy? Here, look at my. You guys can't see my socks. Where did I have this guy on this? I'll add you in a second. I said I need to go to the bathroom. Dang it! Didn't I have him on this? Dude, this guy puts out awesome vids. Which one should I play? Let's play his newest one, I guess.
To be a movie star.
You Tom can't speak very well.
What is adultery?
To be a movie star.
You Tom can't speak very well. You give them the answers as well. When we go to the shops, where do you need to stay? Yes, you need to stay near Mummy. And why is staying near Mummy important? Good, so you can stay safe.
And what would be the point of that?
Most of us don't know who we are.
If only I'd have got that shout out on Globebusters, I'd have more subscribers now.
What might happen if you didn't stay nearby? Yes, you might get lost, and I wouldn't be able to see you, and we'd both be sad. But we don't want that, do we? No.
So I went to your advert for me, where you said you were a shill, and you detailed nothing about your experiment. So you don't listen.
That might not be talked about, or it might be. You decide.
Face is made out of eggshells. You've got petals for a mouth. I think my lovely.
It's horrible. It's downright disgusting.
What's disgusting about it though?
It's the face, the eyes.
It seems like you're really angry about it. Are you really?
She's beautiful. She's our princess. Also, the thing is, I mean, the time is tough. It's very clever, I think. The only thing I don't like.
It was really. Just call him. I'm just gonna call you, Isa. That is loud. Yo. Man, I haven't heard from you in a long time. You've been laying low, Isa. Can you hear me? You might not be able to hear me. One second. There's like a an issue with Firefox. Shit, now he left. God dang it. Alright, let's see here. My mic doesn't work on Firefox. See if that works. Oh, I gotta join it. God damn it. Well, I'm trying to get Isa here. Having some issues. My mic doesn't work when I use Firefox. I've been using Firefox and I forgot. Fake shower. Yo, Isa, are you there? Can you join? I posted that link. Can you join that? Love is overrated. I think it's really interesting that Crowley says love is the law, love under will. And all these songs. What Orwell said, love equals hate. I don't know. Love is interesting. I think they've they've really like fucked with the definition of love, because I know that in other languages they have more than one word for like we just have one word for love. So you say I love you to your father and your mother, and you say I love you to your girlfriend, but that's obviously different kinds of love. So they kind of mess with our idea of love. Is it working now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, how you doing, brother?
Sweet, man. I've been great. Kind of.
Yeah, I see you over here. You're kind of rallying against the world over here, man.
Yeah, I'm just a lone soldier. No.
I feel you. I feel you, bro. I feel you, man. Shoot, it's good. It's good though, man. I'm glad you're live, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of burned a lot of bridges, I guess.
Really? I've been out of the loop, so.
Well,
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
What happened?
Just. Just like it's hard for me to, I don't know, it's hard for me to get along with people. I don't know what, like I like to talk shit, and I have an issue with everyone. Like I guess I have an issue with you too.
I think everyone's got a fucking issue with me, dude.
But like I don't ever want to like exile people, I guess. I hate that, and like I get really pissed off when people ban me and stuff, and I don't know, but Jamie Brown let me on his panel today, which was really nice, because I've been trying really hard, because and it's like I have a bad reputation and I deserve it, but now it's like I have to work really hard to make people trust me, but I don't know, it's fucked up. I guess it's my own fault. I just like to play devil's advocate and challenge people's ideas and opinions, but I'm not really like malicious or anything. But I get a bad reputation because I don't know, I'm negative.
I've always felt like you were more playful.
Yeah.
Than anything, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think like you know, you run a you know, it's a tough crowd out here. It's like for myself, even like coming out here, like I'm so happy that I did come out to YouTube and like have the conversations that I needed to have at a certain time. But honestly, man, it's like, you know, it's really what are you using it for? You know, what are you trying to achieve? Like, you know, this is the old. I think of like when I first came in, and I remember John LeBon was like, "What do you think? You're fucking making friends?" Like, you know, what do you think? You got a fucking movement over here or something like that? Something authentic? And you know, I would have, and I do believe to some extent that yeah, that is what happened, and all the rest of it. But you know, it's about what are you looking for, man? You know, that's kind of been my thing lately. It's like, you know, what do I consider victory? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I noticed you haven't been doing shows for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need to, like, for a while, it's like I needed to flesh out all of those ideas. But I've kind of come to peace with all of that. So it's like I don't need to flesh out to have those arguments. Like, I don't see for me, it was like there was a time when that was what I was into. And I recommend that anyone who's going to say that they're a flat earther, that they better be willing to go in there and fight for their ideas. They better know, they better know their arguments, they better know their points, they better know all the stuff so that you're not, so that you aren't taken advantage of. Because I think that's the biggest thing that maybe I've falsely equated was like the idea that like when people call like Patty or people call any of these people kind of shills or anything like that, I think more what they're referring to is the idea that if you're going to get rid of the ball earth model for yourself and you're going to adopt the flat earth model, like, there's levels to that. Like, are you going to do it from a scientific standpoint or are you doing it because Patricia Steere said so? And that nobody, I think, really wants that. And that's where I always kind of felt that, like, I don't think Patricia Steere wants people to be stupid. I think she wants people to be smart. I watched her interview with Hustler, and it was fucking amazing. And as far as, like, from what I look at, like, I like the conversation of flat earth. Some people don't, so whatever. But I enjoy it, and I like the way she handled it, so. Well, that's me. And I feel you. A lot of people don't like me either, man. Whatever.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to be authentic, be myself, and it seems like a lot of these communities, it's similar to real life where it's like these social games and hierarchy and manipulation, right? And who's popular, and I just want something more than high school, you know what I'm saying? I want to be authentic, and I just want to
no, but you gotta, but hold on, man. That's like, but look at that. You're like looking for the Kim Kardashian dream now, dog. Like,
yeah, it's like I want something that's just not gonna exist. Or
you know what I mean, dog? Like the reality is that you die, and you might die alone. It's like, shit sucks. That's what's so beautiful about imagination, about the concept. That's why I'm so saddened by what happened to these beautiful people that were out here discussing the cosmology, is that they were chased away by, like, people really who I think are their intellectual inferiors, if you don't mind me saying so. And I think, like, what they've done is they've deprived the general YouTube community of the insight to these intelligent, imaginative ideas of hope versus the this cold world of, like, because most people, if you don't have some kind of art in your life, like, I started thinking about it like this: what came first, man, the scientists or the artists? And if you look at it like this, the scientists made the paint for the artists, okay? You hear me? You hear that? You know what I'm saying? Like, the scientists made the paint for the artists.
Actually, I was listening to Manly P. Hall. He said something I thought was really interesting, where he was saying that, how, like, science and religion are sort of divided on YouTube, right? Like, you have the...
Are you having a hard time hearing me? I'm just looking over in chat over here.
No, I can hear you pretty good. Yeah, I turned you up. I had you.
Okay, let me see here. Let me try to.
You sound a little bit better, but we could hear you fine. I think I had you I had you down a little bit low. I think that's why she said that.
Cool. Gotcha. Cool.
But I was listening to Manly P. Hall. He said something very interesting. I thought so. Like, on YouTube, it's kind of like the great debate is between atheists and Christians. Like, there's this atheist community, and then there's the Christian community, and they debate about evolution and etc. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And he was saying that instead of being like, it seems like science and religion are kind of opposed to each other, right? But they should work together. And he was saying because science or integrity is like key to progress, right? So if you, like, the scientists should ask the religious people, like, what's the moral thing to do, right? And because if they're not doing what's moral, then they're not progressing. Like, you can't have progress without integrity, you know? If you're just progressing with no integrity behind it, then it's going to go towards evil, you know what I'm saying? So, what really, instead of like, we have all this like divide and conquer and we're divisive and we look to see differences rather than similarities in our minds. The scientific people and the religious people should be working together, and because without integrity, there's no such thing as scientific progress. You know, does that make sense? I don't know.
Well, I mean, the integrity side of it, yes. It reminds me of the quote. There's a Robert Jastrow quote, I think: "For the scientist who has lived by his faith in the power of reason, the story ends like a bad dream. He has scaled the mountains of ignorance. He is about to conquer the highest peak. As he pulls himself over the final rock, he is greeted by a band of theologians who have been sitting there for centuries."
Nice, man. I like that.
Yeah, man. And that's the thing, is that, like, that's why I feel like, you know, it's unfortunate that, but I think it's almost, it's just the way that the world works, is that, you know, these are mysteries for a reason, man. You know, like, these things are mysteries, and they're worthy of their mystery. And, like, you know, and I don't want to belittle anyone, but I think that, you know, the profane, as they are called, it, you know, it's not, it's remember the line, man. It's like, you know, the ears are for those, you know, like those who have ears, let them hear. Those who have eyes, let them see. You know, if you don't have the ears to hear and the eyes to see, then it's going to be madness to you. It's like, you know, that reminds me of that Sufi saying. It's like, or that saying, like, where it's like, I think it's from Aldous Huxley or something. Where about how, like, I forget where it comes from, but, like, you know, like the people behind, it's like watching like people dance, but you can't hear the music. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, so they deemed them insane because they couldn't hear the music. You know, it's like watching a party from behind a glass wall, and you're deeming the people at the party to be insane because you can't hear the music. And much the same way, you know, much the same way with any of these things. These things are, you know, these are beautiful concepts, and they're worthy of the respect of being a secret. But at the same time, it's like this is a time in history when these things are being unveiled, and there's not much anyone can really do about it. So it's more about how do we cope with this than anything else. That's why I've always kind of sought to bring out this concept of forgiveness, because the only way, a lot of people's first reaction when they come across the idea of deception is to somehow violently throw a fit. But that's not the solution. I mean, look at right now. You've got, like, you know, it's become clear that the FBI and the DOJ were working against Donald Trump and manufacturing dossiers to go after the president. I mean, who would have thought that is real, like, about a year ago?
But how do you know it's real? You know, I don't know, because...
Well, no, but brother, what I mean is, like, this is like, who in the mainstream concept of things would have thought that possible, when in fact today there is a memo that shows that that's exactly what happened. You know, like, it's like this. They're
making conspiracy mainstream, like Taco Bell.
I'm not even concerned with that so much. I'm concerned more with that's a conversation in itself. But the idea that what they're doing is they're making people develop their discernment. You know, whether we like it or not, like, maybe that's not their intended effect, but that's what I see as the hope. You know, that's what I hope for being the effect.
I think the effect is, though, like, people lose faith. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't know what to believe. You know, because if that can be true, then what else?
And that's why, right? And that's why.
But that's a bad. I think that's a bad thing. Like, it's good to have.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. No, the idea, like, say at the as I've pointed out with in regards to law, as I see it and stuff, it's like, what if at the after all the turmoil, what if in reality you realize that it's like the greatest blessing in the world, that you've learned what you've learned. It's like anytime you've suffered anything, and then come out of it a better person on the other side of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you definitely learn from bad experiences more than good. Or defeat.
Right.
You learn more from defeat
Remember,
than
this
winning.
is about an information dump. We've got to learn. So look how much that coincides with getting your ass handed to you.
And I think a lot of people are afraid to be challenged, and they will ban people. Like, I like to play devil's advocate and challenge what people think, and I don't mean to be really malicious and stuff. And it's just like, I don't know, people will ban. They like easy victories, they'll argue with someone who's dumb or something.
Well, you know what was cool, man? I was listening. Every now and again I check in and see what's going on over here, and I was listening to Steve Anthony's show, and he had the Discord up, and Jem Panda, whom I will always talk about how much I like. He stepped up, and somebody was having an argument with somebody, and the person left. And Jem Panda was like, "Well, great. Now we don't have anyone that we can go battle our ideas."
Yeah, I heard that too. That guy was Wolf. I thought he raised some good criticism. Yeah.
I have no concern. My point is that what I noted was that how Jem Panda stood up and said, "Hey, this is what this is about. That's what this was always supposed to be about. And what you've got is a bunch of jocks who have entered the conversation, who think that they're going to bully the
Yeah, I really hate that where they're just calling.
Well, remember this. It's like, just because they can bully themselves through the conversation doesn't make them correct. It doesn't mean that they're intellectually sound. It just means that the intellects know that they're not going to speak to them. And I get really, because this conversation has continued, but it's continued elsewhere. It's no longer out here because these people are like. It's like, I still, I'm with my, or whatever. It's like, each one teach one, wherever you are. And, what it appeared to me is that they don't want us on, on YouTube talking about stuff, which is fine. You know what I mean? I'm not necessarily out here trying to save the world. I've said that countless times.
I don't know. I get pissed when I hear them degrade flat earthers because it's like, who are they? Like, they're not better than other people, and they act like they're smarter and better than other people.
Look like this. You're rehashing the lessons that you should have learned when you were like 5 or 6. Everybody knows that shit. Everybody. It's in like every Disney movie from like Kingdom Come that the bully is just a dick. Like probably who's usually in the. And it's like, that's like, I'm not going to argue with people about lessons that they should have learned, like, when they were 12.
I heard, like, some people say about, like, oh, I used to believe in conspiracies, but now after Flat Earth, I'm reevaluating that and stuff. And that really bothered me hearing that, because...
The best one is that I love this one, such a good one. I'm always just like, when somebody's like, oh yeah, I was a truther and we're the truth movement and that Flat Earth messed it up.
Yeah, like the truth movement has been messed up.
Check it out. How weak was your movement then?
It was messed up way before Flat Earth, so.
Well, my thing is just like, I find it odd when people say that shit. You know what I mean? Like, but like, again, who am I to judge, man? I don't care. I'm not trying to fucking save the world, dude. I don't give a fuck.
In my opinion, I think those people, they think they're so different from Flat Earthers. They have way more in common with Flat Earthers than they realize. And they're so secure in their facts and their reality, but they're living in a fantasy just like all of us. Like, none of us know shit. Like, information has been controlled for a while. I don't think anyone has really had independent thought past like the 90s. I mean, in the 70s, Zbigniew Brzezinski wrote in his book Between Two Ages about how soon we'll be able to control like their thoughts, like they won't have any independent thoughts. And I just feel like we're living in that world.
Did you hear about wetware? You know about the term wetware?
No, I haven't heard that. What's that?
Why are you so 2006, P. Morris? What's going on?
Because I stopped doing research in 2006.
So, yeah, it sounds about. Jesus fucking Christ, man. It's like, yeah, shit is like, it's gotten worse, bro. Like, just, you know. Yeah, look, like, they're already calling people wetware. Like, you know, it's like, you know, the next level of like control. So like, you're just like another, look, man, either you can be just another piece of wetware, another cog in the system, or you can fucking think for yourself. And when someone asks you to do something, you say, why? You know, that's the difference, man. It's just like, that's what it's about. It's about self-empowerment. Like I've put it, you know, when any concept of enlightenment has been to remove fear and give empowerment to the enlightened. So like, you know, when it comes to this idea, that's why I've pointed out before, bro. I said, look, dude, when you die, is it your body that goes in the ground or is it you? And if you can make a distinction between your body and you, then you have to see that through intellectually, through all of the other paradigms.
Right, like I think they got us focused on getting shit that won't help us when we die, right? And then, but like, what can you really take with you to the grave? You take your experiences, you take your knowledge, you take what you've learned, stuff like that. Your love, your experience, you know.
Well, look at it like this, bro. If you've ever, like, I look at it, I've always kind of used the line of like, you know, I've taken too many psychedelics, I think that I'm just a body. Okay.
Right.
So like, you know, the thing is that I cite myself as being a spirit, and like only God knows my name, and only God knows what I am. All I know is that, you know, how could I be my body? You know, if the especially in the eyes of this, the parameters of the rules of the system, which seem to be governed by the Bible, you know, albeit however much atheist wants to throw a tantrum about it, the fucking legal system is an ecclesiastical system. So regardless, they look at it like you're a spirit in a body. So when they say to you, who are you? And you don't consider the value or the depth of that question, then that's your fault. Because you've considered yourself, you've you know, one has classified themselves as the property of this particular institution. Therefore, you are of the world. You know, you're of this world.
I think they really try to distract us and focus on material things and
no shit
away from anything spiritual. But like, really, what matter? Like, you can't take any of this material crap, and they got you focused on just like getting off on physical pleasure and all that all the time. When like real joy comes through wisdom, you know, knowledge, experiences.
Well, yeah, you know, have you ever watched James Campbell?
Relationships with people. No, who's that?
Are you No, are you serious, bro? You don't know James Campbell or Joseph Campbell? Forgive me.
Joseph Campbell? No.
Yeah, look it up, man. Joseph Campbell, The Power of Myth. You will love it, dude. And there's this. It's just this concept of, like one particular thing I'm thinking of was he was talking about how the two paths to enlightenment. It's a really cool myth about it. It's an Indian myth regarding one of the gods, like, you know, God Indiru or something, and it's a cool myth. But point being is that, you know, one has to recognize that there's two paths in this life, and one of them is this yogi path of whatever, and the other life is embracing the responsibilities of this world, which are like, you know, having a wife, you know, a house, all the rest of it. Like, you know, you can still, like, there is no disrespect to anyone who chooses that way of life. You know, that's a great way to go through this life, I would imagine. It's not my path, but it's, you know, it's an honorable path. And so the point is we can't judge anyone, you know, and that's really what it's about. It's about You know, that's why I've always I've liked, you know, this concept of think and let think. You know, it's so crucial to me, and my own philosophy is, you know, all of it, man. So.
I think maybe it is necessary that there are these rulers or something, but I don't know. I just feel like we're at this tipping point where this technology is causing the people with power to get too much power.
No,
and
but
there
that's
needs to be more of a balance.
Dude, that's what's so interesting right now with Trump and this dossier, this whole shit that's going down, which a lot of people, I guess, aren't really, I mean, some people aren't picking up on maybe, is the idea that, look, man, right now it's like, you know, it just seems that there's this possibility where, like, you know, imagine if, like, this deep state group of people get exposed, or at least some surface level of it, and it barks back, you know, a lot of these tyrannical moves that were made on behalf of it. I mean, that's the goal. And I think there's enough people out here and enough good people in government even that are going to defend the oath that they took, which was to the Constitution. This is why my whole concept has always been that, look, there's an evil group of people in power, maybe, but their goal has been to make people hate the Constitution, to make people say it's outdated, to make people hate the one document out here that fucking still upholds man's unalienable rights, not human rights, but man's rights. Because everywhere else in Europe and shit, they're all under human rights. They want to make the Declaration of Human Rights over here because a human is defined as being a fucking monster, which doesn't have any rights. It's an oxymoron. It's like when Animal Planet says surprisingly human. You know, this is where, like, they're telling, this is where, I mean, I've said these things for a long time, but, you know, it's been a while since I've been out here, and I like hanging out with you, man. I've always liked you people. I've always busted your chops. I've always given you shit, but I've always fucking thought you were an alright dude in my book.
Thanks, man. I kind of like how you accept me for who I am. You don't. I mean, I do fucked up shit, but you don't hold it against me too badly.
Hold on now. What's, like, I mean, well, I guess you could probably surprise me, but, like, you know, what's the fucked up shit you've done out here?
Well,
you know,
I mean, I could think of,
I don't know, but
remember when I went on your show and talked about domestic violence? That was probably
right, but
that's probably.
That's the least of, like, what you've done. What you've done is, like, and even then I knew you were trolling, kind of.
No, I was vindictive against Yvette because she banned me from that Discord group and, like, caused this, like, huge rift between me and a bunch of people. Yeah, so I'm a spiteful, I'll admit, like, I can be spiteful, I guess, and yeah.
Well, yeah, that's like, even for myself, man. I had at one point invested a lot out here, like, you know, especially over on FreeChan, and it all got taken, and it all got, you know, just.
That was so lame how FreeChan got destroyed. Like, I don't even understand what happened.
It was so yeah, like, I'm not even like.
It was fun. I had a lot of fun there. So.
Right, I was sad when it all went down, and I thought it was totally.
And then it was so weird because, like, Poncho tried to do it again, and then Yvette got mad that he used the name FreeChan, then he changed the name, but then Poncho went all freaking Nazi and banned everyone and ruined it. But I guess according to Snack was banning ballers from FreeChan. Like, I think FreeChan would have been better if the ballers were allowed on the panel, you know? And it became kind of an echo chamber too, but because, like, I remember when I was in FreeChan, man, I felt like I couldn't question if I acted like I questioned the flat Earth, I would get banned or something. I felt like that when I was there, so that kind of sucked. I felt like I kind of had to step on eggshells and say the right things, or the flat earthers would ban me. But I was open to the idea of flat Earth. Like, I was trying to do research on it legitimately. I wasn't just being a dick. Like, I don't think flat earthers are stupid because I think it's good to question everything. Like, I think it's good to question the shape of the Earth. It's fine to have that conversation. I learned a bunch, and I don't have any issue with what's
Right. Well, it's like, why would you like? I look at it like any other fucking subject. It's like, look, man, if it's the truth, it's the truth. Like, what's the big deal here? It's like, I mean, the interesting thing about it is that there is a hell of a lot to digest and a hell of a lot to dissect. And then there becomes this position, like for me, the way I've always cited Flat Earth is that it becomes a personal decision at the end of it all, because that's why you need to go know the information for yourself, so you're not led astray by either camp.
That guy who got banned from that Discord, Jem's Discord, Wolf, he was asking soundly, like, why do you care so much about exposing the flat earthers or whatever? And he's like, well, they're conning people and they're lying to people and they're getting money. But that's such a bad excuse, because if you're so worried about people getting conned, about being lied to, like, what about the society is full of that. Like, that's all over the place. Why would you focus on this small group of people,
I think about all the pastors,
or Tim is so mad that flat earthers are ruining the truth movement. He's like, oh, we were talking about vaccines and important things before flat earth, but it's like, really, you weren't going anywhere. Like, 9/11 truth didn't really go anywhere. Like, the truth movement has been always.
Hey, bro, my question would be, why did they stop? Why did you stop?
Well, the truth movement has always been full of crap. Like, there's no reason to. It's like, why single out flat Earth? They have no really good reason to do what they do, and when you question on them, they have no really good logic, and I don't know, man. It's like flat. I think it's just. I think they should just have fun with flat Earth. Like, I don't understand all this animosity and stuff. Like, who the hell cares? It doesn't even matter. So, I don't know. I think it's a fun time. It's a fun conversation. Like, people say some crazy things, and
well, no, you have look, man. There's two ways, or actually, I guess 3 kinds of conversations about flat Earth, which is one, which is you're going to talk about the scientific heliocentric model and try to poke holes in it. The second way is to have eccentric, or these eccentric theories of, crazy ideas about how it could all work. And the third one is the conspiracies that are involved. And the thing is with the conspiracy conversation, you wind up into a crazy world of you know what? I have to check this one out. This is something I thought of. Okay, I watched this. You ever heard of? I think his name's the Pink Man or something like that.
No.
Or I forget his name, but it's he does these breakdowns on fake martial arts instructors.
Nice.
Awesome, dude. So
yeah, there's so many fakes and frauds. It's crazy.
Hold on. So Frank Dukes, Bloodsport, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he goes in and he's ripping this guy a new one, and what he's talking about is so Frank Dukes. It's so good. You should actually go and find it and play it, because it's that good. Oh my God, it's so good. Look up Frank Dukes, Exposed, part 2 or something. It's so good. Oh my God, dude, it's so good. Oh, it's so funny. Come on, man. You got to find it. It's Frank. Remember Frank Dukes? It's Frank and then DUX. Yeah, DUX is his last name. And then the guy who makes the videos is Mr. Pink or something, Pink Man or something. Oh, dude, these are the greatest ever. But okay, before we get started. So he refers to how Frank Dukes. Actually, we should just watch it. Fuck it, just watch the fucking thing. Is there? No, go to chapter 2 though. Or I guess you could do chapter 1. It's fuck it. How long are they? Yeah, they're great. Okay, all right. Play it. It's so good. Oh my God, can I hear it through here? Okay, don't worry about it. I'll find you on here. I'm gonna listen to you over here. That's funny.
I want to ask you some true or false questions. True or false? You once sold a ceremonial sword that you won in the Kumite to attempt to buy the freedom of enslaved children. That's true. True or false? You once threatened to throw Jean-Claude Van Damme off a building top. True. True or false? Your military records were rewritten to eradicate certain events and things in your records. True. True or false, you remain an active, undercover, off-the-books employee of the CIA? That's a very good question. True or false, you used to use a double to answer media interviews for you while you were clandestinely abroad? I hope I'm speaking to the real Frank Dukes right now.
The 1988 avant-garde film Bloodsport was, without a doubt, a groundbreaking cinematic milestone that touched the hearts of an entire generation. As tremendous of an artistic achievement as the movie was, however, there is one aspect about it that has been plaguing film scholars for years. That bizarre end caption that lists the world record set by the story's protagonist, Frank Dukes. When we first saw that, I think most of us had the same reaction.
Wait, that was supposed to be a true story?
Yes, as unbelievable as it may seem, Bloodsport is actually supposed to be a biopic. There really is a man named Frank Dukes who claimed to have learned the dim mock from a ninja master as a child, and then fought in an underground no-holds-barred tournament called the Kumite. And although Hollywood has a notorious reputation for fudging the facts in so-called true stories, this particular film is actually pretty faithful to the claims made by Mr. Dukes. In fact, I'd go so far to say that Bloodsport was one of the most honest biographical films ever made. If not for the fact that Frank fabricated every single detail in the entire story. Yes, my devoted listeners, we have arrived. The worst martial arts fraud in human history. Truth be told, I'm not even sure if I should be making this video, because I have a sneaking suspicion that Frank Dukes isn't actually a human being. I genuinely think he might in fact be the genetically combined form of all the other frauds I covered before. Like Bart Vale, he's mostly famous for fake fights. Like Ashita Kim, he claims to be a ninja master of unparalleled ability. Like Raphael Tori, he possesses an extensive false military pedigree and allegedly has a predilection to take hits out on people he doesn't like. And like George Dillman, he claims to be master of the unholy art of the death touch. The man truly is the Megazord of frauds. Unlike other charlatans of his ilk who just make a handful of claims that need to be debunked, Dukes has crafted an entire mythos of bullshit. So prolific of a liar is he that for the first time I actually have to divide my video up into chapters to properly deal with each set of claims he's made. It's the only way I think I could make this video without succumbing to vertigo. And so, without further ado, here it is. The thorough and systematic destruction of your childhood.
Okay, USA. Okay, USA.
The narrative of Frank Dukes' fantasy life began in California when he was 13 years old after meeting a ninja master by the name of Senzo Tiger Tanaka, also known as Takizo Tanaka. According to Dukes' autobiography, The Secret Man, Tanaka was a former Japanese intelligence officer and kumite champion who practiced a form of ninjutsu known as Koga Yamabushi. The two supposedly became acquainted in the locker room of a judo tournament in which Dukes had competed, and after a thorough bout of molestation, I assume, Senzo recruited Dukes to train the art of the Shadow Warrior with his nephews. As I discussed in my Ashita Kim video, modern schools of ninjutsu have maybe only a flimsy at best connection to the actual ninjas of feudal Japan. Masaki Hatsumi, the most respected instructor of ninjutsu in the world today, alleges to possess a lineage that stretches back to 3 different historical schools of the art, but he's never actually had any of the documents he's basing this claim on verified as authentic by Japan's top Koryu associations. In any case, Koga Yamabushi, despite supposedly having a lineage older than 1,000 years, is not a recognized form of ninjutsu by anybody else in the LARPing community, and was completely unheard of before Frank Dukes hit the scene. Senzo Tiger Tanaka, likewise, was also completely unknown before Dukes, despite supposedly being a world-famous teacher. Nobody in the ninjutsu world had ever heard of him, and to this date nobody besides Frank has ever claimed to train with him. According to Ancestry.com and other sources, there was indeed a Japanese immigrant by the name of Senzo Tanaka who lived in California around the time Dukes was a child, and who died in 1975, the same year Frank claims his master passed away. Some Dukes supporters have tried to use this as evidence that Dukes' ninja master was real, but several key details don't match up. Frank claims Senzo Tiger Tanaka was an international super spy who worked in Japan, England, and China before finally immigrating to Los Angeles in 1956. The man I found on Ancestry was a farmer who immigrated to the United States in 1910, never appeared to have lived in LA, and was interred during World War II when Dukes' mentor was still supposed to be living abroad. An interesting enough life, I suppose, but not quite the man Frank described. Perhaps Dukes happened to meet this dude when he was a teenager and then attributed all that espionage and ninja stuff to him later on. Or perhaps he just straight up ripped off the 1967 James Bond film You Only Live Twice, based on the Ian Fleming novel of the same name, which prominently featured a character by the name of Tiger Tanaka who commanded a cabal of ninjas. When presented with this suspicious coincidence in an interview for a 1988 LA Times article, Dukes responded, Ian Fleming often based his characters on real people. Yeah, as you'll see time and time again, Frank Dukes apparently went to the George Dillman school of saying the dumbest possible thing when confronted by a tough question. Moving on, though, Dukes claimed to have studied with Tanaka for about 6 years before competing in the Kumite at the age of 19. Among the training methods Senzo supposedly put him through included having him spar with his nephews using live-bladed weapons, doing household chores to train blocking techniques like Daniel-san from The Karate Kid, tying stake to his body and having a full-grown Akita attack him, and having him do dynamic tension exercises. This line really stood out to me when I read it in his book. The only other time in my life I've ever come across the phrase dynamic tension was in those old Charles Atlas advertisements that used to appear in comic books. I seriously doubt Dukes would have picked up terminology like that from a Japanese martial arts master in the late 60s. As you'll see later on, this isn't the only odd comic book similarity in Dukes' story. Before we get to that, though, we have to discuss one more imaginary trial Dukes says Tanaka had put him through. having him train with a Green Beret at the age of 16 to groom him for a life as an intelligence operative.
That's pretty good, man.
Is it over?
Yeah, there's lots of frauds for sure.
Well, so this is I was trying to get to this point. If you watch the second part, right, it talks about anyway, it says he's with the CIA, all this shit. Now imagine if like what he was really doing was an MK Ultra thing, of where putting all of this, like what it was really about was influencing a generation of people with this movie Bloodsport, and the idea of the martial, something along those lines.
I mean, martial arts definitely took off. Boxing.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, outside of all that, like, I mean, because boxing, all that stuff has always existed, but it's like, there was like a media push. So imagine, like, how ridiculous.
I mean, think about UFC, right? Like, we have UFC today, and our generation grew up on shit like Bloodsport, So that was kind of conditioning us to like this new sport that was going to come out in the future, right?
Well, I wonder because that's is life imitating art, or is art imitating life? Because people have always been into martial arts, but I mean, it's a good point. But I mean, as someone who's a fan of MMA, it's like a tough blow. I have a hard time saying that.
I like MMA too. Like, I was watching UFC 1 when it was like they would have people fight 3 fights in a night or something.
But you're right though. It almost was like the kumite was the groundwork for that. That's what I got. That's a good point. I
remember watching the Van Damme movies, and there would always be this scene where he was stretching, and then I would do these stretches as a kid. I'd try and do the splits and stuff, No
doubt. Oh yeah, I was all into martial arts back then, and I just did jiu-jitsu back then, and it's like one of those things where I just can't help but to think, it's interesting, like the kumite, setting up the.
There's tons of martial arts frauds, like Aikido, like Steven Seagal says all this
Well,
crap.
here's the thing. Hold on now. See, here's the thing with martial arts, is that certain people can only stomach so much, man. Like I've seen like women like want to throw up in martial arts classes because it's just got too violent, too quick. You know what I mean? Depending on the kind of environment you're in, and like so like the things like Aikido and stuff, they're really good actually because you're learning as long as you're not getting like led down the garden paths with some like launching people across the room, but like learning about wrist locks and Aikido is interesting because it just means the way of love.
Well,
do you know that?
No, I don't.
Yeah, Aiki means like love, and Do means the way. So Aikido is the way of love.
I just think, like, I don't know, I was really into Bruce Lee, and I really liked about Bruce Lee he was against dogma, right? He was like, whatever works, and, you can't say there's like a best way of fighting because everyone has a different body, right? So your body might be adapted to a certain style that my body isn't, So I really like that philosophy of
I like his line. He's like, it's not somebody that knows. It's not somebody who knows 1,000 different ways to attack you. It's about or 1,000 different kicks. It's someone who knows. It's someone who's practiced one kick, 10,000 times. It's not about learning 10,000 techniques or 10,000 kicks. It's about doing one kick 10,000 times. Like this, you perfect the strike. I mean, I've always thought that martial arts is the quickest way to what I would consider enlightenment.
Yeah, it is.
But check this theory out too. This is what I was going to get into next. So the idea, so imagine you've got this, like they do Bloodsport or whatever, but also I started thinking about how jiu-jitsu came out of Brazil, and Brazil is one of the locations that and I'm just going to go conspiratard for a sec, Brazil is one of the locations that the Nazis allegedly maybe went to, right?
Right.
And so if you look at it, like, what if...
I mean, that's one of the places with the biggest disparity between rich and poor, too. So that's...
I've always wondered, like, is there a connection with, like, the Brazilian jiu-jitsu phenomenon that came out of there? Because maybe, Nazis. Like, you had high-level warriors that knew this shit. And this stuff has been known for a long time. There's, like, if you look it up, actually, you could even play one. There's, like, a 1950s, it's, like, self-defense for women. And it's this chick, and she's doing leg locks and fucking arm bars and throwing people. You know, it's like it's from the 50s. Like, you know, these things are... Look, man, you've only got 4 limbs and a head. So the thing is that there's only so many ways to manipulate it. But there are a lot of different variations and a lot of different techniques. And that's what's happened lately, is that those levels of techniques have just, you know, compounded and you know, they've... what's the term?
It shows you that dogma is false. Like, I remember I used to play, like, competitive video games, and people would say, well, this is the best strategy for that. And I would say, you know, there is no best strategy. And people would laugh at me. But I had this, like, really Bruce Lee approach to things where there's no, like, best way. It's whatever. Everything is situational, right? Like, there's only a best for something that's in the past, and things that are living. Combat is a live thing. You can't know what is the best way to do something in that moment, because it's completely situational and depending on variables.
Right, but you got to remember that you have to have a plan.
Yeah, I'm not saying like there's definitely like fundamentals and all that, but I'm just saying there's no like.
Hold on 1 second.
There's no dogma's bad.
Hold on. No, it's not. The thing is with those, it's just about application. They're both essential. It's like, is breathing in better than breathing out? Do you know what I mean, bro?
Yeah, but I'm saying like.
Hold on. Like, seriously, consider that. Is breathing in better than breathing out?
I mean, there are fundamentals and all that, and like, I'm not saying that you can't learn from it. I'm just saying, like, saying this is the best way for anything is a bad thing.
Brother, but look, what you're trying to do is you're trying to pick breathing in versus breathing out, because you're saying people say breathing out's the shit, but breathing in is better. It's like, no, motherfucker, they're both required. Like, it's like you can't separate them, man. And like that's. I think even the Earth shows us that with the sky and the Earth, like, you know, their combination, the conundrum of it all is the idea that, like, look, you need the dogma. I look at it like, look, if you can't, there's no atheist in a battle. The reason is, like, you know, because you're gonna find that, like, that's your only, like, sense of security in some sense. It becomes one's faith in those moments of insecurity, and they're beautiful things to have and to hold and cherish and all that shit. So when, you know, it's about, like, you know, you're saying, like, I look at dogma as like, it's what you're planning on doing, but you have to be ready to do what you didn't plan for. And that's where you're right with the idea of, like, being like water, right? That's what you're alluding to.
Well, okay, so I just look up. Yeah, well, shout out to Side Warrior.
Big up, brother.
And Chris Topher and Sovereign Gamer. The definition of dogma, right, is a principle or set of principles laid down by an authority as incontrivably true. So dogma is basically like saying this is the truth and there's no other way.
Hold on.
Kind of a
Aren't
thing.
you the authority?
Yeah, dude, we're just talking. I'm talking about the word dogma, though.
I do, and what I'm trying to tell you, it's you know, it's interesting, man. Me and Tim had a really talk, and we were talking about how presuppositions. Like, look, man, you need your presuppositions. You need them to remain healthy. Like you need them to like have some grounding of your life. There's nothing wrong with a presupposition or a little bit of dogma, if you will. But like, it's when it gets like to the point where you're now, like you said, like you're bound to that. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't like think outside of that. That's when, that's why I've said before, it's like God gave me the ability to question the validity of God. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess I just, I don't know, I have that mindset where I kind of like proving people wrong, or I don't know, if you say you can't do something, then I like to try and do it. And so I've always liked that sort of thinking of Bruce Lee, where he was against having things set in stone as a truth, and because I don't know, it's just,
well, yeah, here's the thing, right? It's like I remember I read a cool book. You ever heard of Tom Brown Jr.? He wrote a couple of awesome books. One of them is called The Tracker. Some other books too. But he talks about how like a guy I used to call grandfather, who was like an Apache Indian who taught him a bunch of stuff. He said about religion, like how religion is a crutch, but like one time they were traveling through a field and they came across a cemetery, and one of the crosses on one of the things was like, snapped down a little bit. And so what he did was he fixed the cross, right? And like helped stand it up. And like, in thinking about it, the guy was saying how it's like, just this concept of, really, it's not about like being religious as a crutch, but it's like, if sometimes like for myself, like, my faith is my faith, but if I'm talking to a Christian, I have no problem talking with the Bible and getting my point across using the Bible. If I'm talking to a Hindu person, I could talk it and talk through the Bhagavad Gita. If I'm talking to a Muslim, I can talk through the Quran. Do you know what I mean, bro?
yeah.
And that's like, it's, and I love, there's a great line, I think Gandhi said it, it's, God speaks to the hungry with bread. So it's like whatever you're prepared for is the way and the means of how, you'll see it.
There's like a philosopher, Descartes, who he had this like thing where he's like, what if there was an evil demon who was manipulating all your senses? Can you disprove? I think that's like an interesting philosophy. Like,
well, yeah, he's also one of the philosophical founders of what we consider modern government over here in the States. He's like, he's a French, and remember too, is the idea of he's the one who said, "I think, therefore I am,"
mm-hmm.
which implies that he who does not think
doesn't exist. That's how I think the elite feel. Like they feel like if we don't use our brains, then like we're just cattle or whatever. Like,
well, that's what I was saying is like the idea of like that question of who are you? Who are you?
That's a good question that is very hard to answer, and people turn to things that are not them to answer it, and they identify with everything that isn't them.
Right, and that's why the elites are like we just said, he who does not think is nothing, or whatever I say is, or whatever they say they are.
I think it's interesting what Descartes was saying, because when you get into flat Earth, it's all about empirical and your senses and stuff, and what do they tell you? But really, you can't trust your senses, right? Because sometimes, your senses can mislead you.
Well, that's what makes everything subjective.
Right.
That's why it's like, when people try to like agree upon a concrete externalized world.
So that's why it's like ball earthers shouldn't really be so pissed off and vitriolic against flat earthers, because they don't like, no one is the arbiter of truth, like we're all trying to figure out what the hell's going on, and no one has any answers, and we're born into this world where we're lied to as children, and it's fucked up. So you shouldn't be so judgmental of other people if they're questioning. Like, it should be natural.
Well, the thing is, it's about what level of interest does someone have in the conversation. It's it's like, let's say, like, if I want to talk about music with somebody and they don't know the guitar, but I want to have an in-depth conversation about musical theory. Like, I can't have that conversation with someone who doesn't understand the subject matter. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not fair almost. And so,
yeah,
like,
I guess that's why I like talking to flat earthers, is because they understand a lot of the stuff I am into.
Right. I mean, well, that's the thing, man. It's like it's like I don't like anyone that's like not with it. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, if you're not with it and you're not like comedic about shit, you're taking your fuck. Like, if you're boring as fuck, like, just because someone's a flat earther doesn't mean like I'm necessarily like gonna gel with them or fucking like them or anything. We're still just people. But like, I've always tried to show an aspect of respect to the flat earthers out here, but I've been called every name in the book by flat earthers as well. And I've done nothing but fight for flat earth. So anyone who sees anything otherwise from me, it's like, I don't know what to tell you. We wouldn't get along anyway, because you know what I mean? Like, you're not picking up what I'm putting down. So I'm not, it's like, and I've already, there's nothing I can do about that. But I don't want to short sell myself and try to be like, define who I am on the basis of someone who I don't really appreciate anyway. It's like, you ever want to, like, I've talked about it like this before. It's like you ever like want to impress, or for music anyway, like if I've wanted to impress somebody like with my music, and then like, they maybe aren't impressed, but then they're like, oh, I'm gonna put on this song, I really like this song, and it's like a song that I absolutely fucking hate, and I realize, like, wait a minute, why did I want to affect this person when in reality it's like we're totally off base? So I need to be myself, and people go and need to be themselves. I'm not mad if people want to open up a YouTube channel and talk shit on flat earth. It's their right. It's America. But the point, or, it's the internet or whatever the fuck, but it's got American values all over it. So I think it's this notion that we can,
we have this precious time to talk a bunch of shit right now before the PC people come in.
Well, it's like, there's all that stuff.
Chris Topher said something in the chat. It's pretty cool. He says, "He who does not think deserves the garbage they are fed to think." ?
Nice.
I like.
Well, that's like I did that one song, artificial intelligence. I don't know if you heard that.
Man, AI is scaring me. I've been reading some stuff about that. That's
well, it's like the lines of my songs. Artificial intelligence. When what you think doesn't make any sense. So like artificial intelligence to me doesn't have anything to do with computers. It's got more to do with the fact that most people are fucking out of touch with possibly the real events of history. Which again, it's none of my business. Like, whatever.
I've been listening to Manly P. Hall a lot lately, and he had this cool lecture where he made this good point about like, it's important to have a healthy diet, but it's also important to have a healthy mental diet. I think a lot of people don't think about that you want to listen to the things. It's not just like, it's important what you put into your body and feed your body, but it's also important like what you're listening to, the music you're listening to, the type of podcasts and lectures and stuff you're listening to. That it's important to listen, to put healthy things into your mind, just like into your stomach, right? So.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, if you hang out, like, remember, if you hang out with people that smell like pee, you're gonna wind up smelling like pee. So it's like, I don't hang out with people that lower my vibes.
I kind of.
It's just not worth it. Man. It's like, even like, I don't know. You know, it's like I may hold court again. You know what I mean, on the rare occasion, and get together with good friends. But you know, it's like it's not as pressing as I once felt it needed to be. Just, you know, regardless of, you know, people trying to, like, you know, attack people and all the rest of it out here. You know, over a discussion. You know, it's like it already, to me, that valid, like it. I don't know. I don't want to piss people off, but it's the sign of an argument that was lost. And I think it's more apparent than ever that the argument, for at least the way that it's been handled, has been handled poorly by the ball earthers, and you know, and I think everyone sees that, and therefore it validates flat Earth despite their convictions. So, you know, they've just destroyed their own argument by having no, you know, by taking it to certain levels, and they've only given credibility to the opposition, much like the Democratic Party and all that. It's kind of weird. I feel like there's a connection, but I'll leave that to myself. But like the idea that, like, you know, same way with like the Democrats, like they're over there yelling at everyone, saying that they're liars and there's a Russian connection, but in reality they were actually working with the Russians, selling them uranium and shit. So it's like, you know, what they've done is they've called out, they've tried to persecute other people for what they've done, and their time is at hand almost. So God knows the mysteries.
That Wolf guy you mentioned earlier, who was in Gem Pandas.
I don't know who it was. I didn't mention him.
He made
I heard somebody.
Yeah, I remember that. I know it was Wolf. I know who you're talking about because I heard the same thing. But he made a point about that, about how the ball earthers have validated the flat earthers by even engaging in them. And he said, you know, if someone calls you a stupid faggot, are you going to really defend that? You're just going to ignore that. And that, like, if you look at Nathan Oakley's debate show, it's like these ball earthers do all this homework and research you know, it's like Riley and Nathan are the teachers, and then the ball earthers go and do all this homework.
Well, no, even worse. It's even worse because it's actually like, it's like they've, you know, like they've hijacked the class with like spitballs and, you know, food fights, basically. Like they've shown like, I don't know, to me, you know, I could have some choice words for some of the behavior, but I'll refrain. I just think it's, you know, I think I try to behave like an adult, you know. That's it. You know, some people are, you know, they're not into that or something. I don't know. Or there's levels. I don't know. To me, it's not very, like, it's childish, and it's the mark of having lost the intellectual debate. Unfortunately for them, regardless of how they say it.
Yeah, I get pulled down into that, man. I got like a temper. I get pissed off. I don't know. I guess I gotta work on that or something.
I mean, like, it's like, why are you invested in it, man? Like, you know, I have like I'm at the point where it's like, I said everything that I wanted to say out here. I think that I said it to people who understood what I was trying to say. There's a lot of people that I know that understood what I was trying to say, picked up on it. And I've actually had a lot of feedback from people that have had a lot of success using some of what I taught, which makes me feel great for having come out here and having dispersed and unloaded and unpacked everything that I've discovered, because I did have the opportunity to flesh out and say it all. And I don't think it fell on deaf ears, you know, not all deaf ears. And for that, I think, you know, I kind of came out, but I also think that this conversation is somewhat controlled out here. And I really don't I don't appreciate that. But I am for the fun, you know, I'm for the fun. Like, you know, it's like, I think anything in life can be fun. And, you know,
It's a fun debate, and it.
Well, I mean, it's like, you know, like, yeah, like I love all the, like, you know, even like I don't know, man. It's like take like Patricia Steele. Like I like Patricia Steele. She's always been good to me. I'm always gonna be fun with her. She's I think she's an amazing lady. I've had nothing but good things personally. Like when other people, I don't know, I don't know what they see, I don't care. You know what I mean? But it's like, for me, it's like I'm gonna have a little bit of fun, and that's all I see. That is, this is what it's about. Some people are trying to make it about like some revolutionary gonna take over. I mean, even I'm a little upset with Mark Sargent and him saying that he's what's it, the Declaration of War.
Yeah, he said some
like,
crazy things.
Right, it's like, and I understand it's almost clickbaity. And that to me, as long as it's dealt with as something that's fun, is okay. But like, those terms are pretty inflammatory. I just don't particularly think it's diplomatic enough. But that's, who the fuck am I?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it should be fun, and people, I guess, they get emotional, they get wrapped up into it.
That's why I like Patricia, dude.
I mean, I'm guilty of it too, man. Like, I try and be fun and just have a fun, easygoing, free spirit. But sometimes you get wrapped up into something, and then you're like, man, I got too serious, And this is just.
Well, look at like this, man. It's like, look, you can watch like Phuket Word, who just did a great video on like the horizon and stuff, and you can watch like Paul on the Plane and all these awesome guys that are making great videos. And then you can watch like Patricia Steele be a little cutie and a little ditzy and get a little, have a drink and talk about all the conspiracy stuff and make light of it and laugh and whatever. I don't know. I'm not offended. If someone's offended by that, I don't know what to say. Nor do I give a shit anymore, really. Like, I just think to myself, like,
in this day and age, it's like someone's offended over anything. So.
Yeah, it's like I don't, right.
I'm really against that. Like, political correctness is a way to control people, and I actually had a problem with Jim Panda's Discord group because they basically kind of wanted to make everyone agree to this pact of, let's never reveal anything that's said on this Discord and keep secrets, and that's essentially a secret society, and I'm all about like being free and open and.
Look, man, if there are a bunch of friends that want to do that, that's fine.
Right. But
hold on. What I don't like is the idea that people would maybe get together like that, and then, totally just get together, and their sole mission is to attack other people.
Yeah, I hate the exclusion.
That's where it crosses the line for me. Like, like I've said before, it's like, I have a soft spot for Jem because I've had great conversation with him. I look at debating with him as like a sport, and I rather enjoy it. And I think I don't know, I like his caliber of conversation. I like the way he conducts himself. And that's, I don't know, I can't, nobody springs to mind.
See, like Jem at one point, I was talking to him, and he said I could come back into their group if I promised to be nice to them or something like that. And it's just like, I was like,
hold on,
what?
Dude, that's what Jem would say.
It's so, I just think that's so messed up, though. It's like using this social pressure to control me.
Relax. Look at it like this, dude.
Because I like freedom. It's like, who are you to tell me what to do and try and control me and threaten me and hold like.
Well, hold on. I don't want to try to tell you to go deal with that. What I'm just trying to say is, like, I could see Jem being funny and saying like,
no, they were serious. They were crazy, man. They wanted to have this like little secret society, and I was just like, no, I don't want to keep secrets from people, and I don't want to like have to conform to fit into your group. I want to be an individual, and then it's like because you want to be an individual, you get exiled from all these groups, and it's like I get banned everywhere because I want to have independent thoughts, and it's absolutely insane. And it's just like that's what our society is. If you think for yourself, if you don't fit in, you don't fit the mold, then fuck you, go hit the curb.
P. Mars, why are you invested in what these people think, bro?
No, that's just that's just how life is. If you don't conform and fit into everyone, they ban you from their society.
That's and it's like, it's just the way that it is, man. It's like that's why being
right.
That's why having manners is important, man. That's why having like social acuity is important.
No, this isn't I have bad manners. This is people are pathetic, and they ban Cathexis. He's got manners, but they ban him. They're pathetic people.
Well, I haven't been over to the Discord. I don't know what they're doing, but like and I'm not trying to, defend or whatever the heck. But I just know that there's certain people, and I would even dare say that actually all of them individually, I have an affinity for. I think. Yeah,
like that's the thing. It's like even if you irritate me and I don't like you, I'm not gonna ban you and exile you from my chat or from talking to me. It's so fucked up. It's like they're trying to separate people who are friends and shit, and like cause all these fucking problems and drama. And for what? Like, because they want to have a fucking echo chamber where they can hate on flat earthers and only allow the flat earthers who are retarded in, and not the ones who read books.
Yeah, I'll tell you, how about this?
It's fucking annoying.
I don't know. Well, I'll tell you, it's like I don't want to talk. I don't care. Like straight up, I don't care. It's making me sick about like the vibes that
I need to go to bed.
I'm so that too. I should do that too. But like my point is, man. Remember, have you read that book, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen? Have you read that one yet?
No.
No, I did a book reading of it, but I've taken a lot of shit off of my website or off of the channel. But if you look up that book, As a Man Thinketh, man, your mind is like a garden, and you have to put the correct seeds in there. Otherwise, you'll be and you have to prune it, and you have to, nurture it, because otherwise the weeds will grow. So, like, what does it matter what some YouTube channel or some bunch of people?
You're right, but it's just
you cultivate your own like little paradise.
I feel like, yeah, you're right, and that's. I guess that's what I've learned is like I just like I can't have relationships with other people or something, and I just have to go be by myself because no one wants to be around me. I don't know.
Well, bro, you have to remember that, like, man, we are social creatures, and that's what's cool about.
That's why I'm all fucked up in the head.
Well, that's why it's cool. It's cool to be able to come out here.
And then they fucking like make fun of me for that shit. It's like, what the fuck?
Well, say,
they're like, oh, weakness. We hate losers. We like winners. Let's go pick on this loser. He has no friends. This is like the mentality of human beings. And then let's be manipulative. Let's lie. Let's form a social order. Let's form a pecking order. Who do we like the most? Who's the ugly? Who's beautiful?
Remember we were just talking about this. We were talking about
this is society. Like what? This is fucking dog shit. Like who would want to be a part of this shit?
Well, I mean, like,
and they're afraid to be on. The people are afraid to go on their own, so they partake in evil or whatever. I guess I don't know. Whatever. I should probably go to bed. Thanks for coming on, Ice. Do you have anything you want to say before?
I just think, like, keep the vibes up, man. Like, there's no reason to, like, dwell on, that's because that's just part, go watch, like, Michael Tsarian's Psychic Vampirism.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with him. I used to talk to him.
Like, well, I'm just trying to say, it's like, that's awesome. I love Tsarian, I like Tsarian, but, like,
talk to him about Bruce Lee.
my thing, like, like that idea that don't let that negative energy continue to, get around you, man. Like, try to, uplift yourself. Try to, like, push your mind into a proper position to view things, man.
Right.
And, like, with that, like, leave all that dark shit behind and don't, just...
Well, I mean, it's nice to say that, but it's like everyone has banned me on Facebook, and
okay, stop
everyone's
complaining.
banned me
Right,
everywhere.
stop complaining. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. All right, yo, look. Like, the thing is that, like, it's like, I used to look at it like this. When I go to the woods, right, it's like if a mosquito comes, and, like, if mosquitoes around me, it's time to move, right? It's like, if I get bitten by, like, the flies come out, it's like, that's when I know I need to get my shit and move. Because I'm not supposed to be right there. Because there's too many, you know what I mean? So, like, when you're getting flack. It's like me out here. I started getting attacked a lot. It's like I realized, like, okay, I don't need to expose myself to this. I don't need to be out here. It's like, granted, like, people could see it as this, that, the other thing. But I've said it from day one, too, is that my victory is my life, bro. I live a very cool life. You know what I'm saying? And I try to cultivate a cool life and keep it that way. And I don't have to involve anyone with what I do in my life. Like, I have a good time wherever I am.
Yeah, I was thinking about just, like, going to live in the woods by myself.
Not even, bro. You don't have to. It's just a matter of, like, just, like, learn how to cultivate wherever you are. And, like, and that's what I think is so beautiful when you learn about some of this cosmology shit or whatever, is that you're learning about a further extension of where you are. And, like, and who you are. So I would just enjoy the study and consider yourself blessed to even consider these ideas, because many people don't. And consider yourself blessed that you have the time on your hand to fucking consider it. Think of it like this: thank goodness you have all your fingers and toes, motherfucker.
No, I'm definitely blessed.
Don't dwell on this bullshit. But be happy that you've got food in your fucking fridge. Be happy that you've got electricity. Be happy you're not stuck outside in the cold. Don't fucking worry about this bullshit, dude. Take it for real. Life is no joke, man. Be happy with what you have, man. Be grateful. You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to say, like, keep it positive, because there's already, it's like, I love, there's a line from, like, Bob Marley or something, it's like, you wake up in the morning, they cuss every morning, saying devils, saying prayers to the devil, you know what I mean? Try to, like, wake up with a joyful song on your heart, man. You know what I mean? Like, don't, like, no matter what.
I'm usually actually pretty positive in the morning, and I get negative as the day goes on.
Yeah, you cultivate, well, again, too, stop complaining. Go get it. Like,
I'm really not, I mean, I guess I've been complaining a lot to you, because I just don't have anyone to talk to.
Nah,
so
you're all good, bro. I don't mind that, really, but
I'm kind of venting right now. So, but I'm usually not, like, I don't, like, complain, and, like, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying, like.
Yeah, like, cause you're wherever you're.
I mean, I'm trying my best. Like, I'm gonna try and quit smoking weed, and I've been trying to, like, just do positive, healthy things and shit in my life.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I get, like, pissed off or some shit like that, I'll go for a run.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll go run like 5 miles. You know what I mean? So it's like, those are the types of things that are healthy to exert the energy.
Yeah, that's a good strat.
Yeah. So, just keep it positive, man. Stay dogmatic. But yeah, man, I'm glad you invited me on tonight, brother. I enjoyed it.
Nice talking to you.
I've been starved for some good conversation myself, so it's really nice on you, man.
Cool, man.
Yeah,
all right.
man.
Have a good night. Everyone follow Isa. A lot of people are going to probably think I'm a shill for talking to him. Whatever.
That's the thing. It's like, right? Like, I don't.
He does have owl. I will admit, he does have owl symbolism. That is pretty screwed up. But whatever.
It's a bobcat now.
It's a bobcat now.
Yeah, bobcat.
I left the owl Illuminati.
Nah, I got the owl. But like, you know, I mean, the owl is, yeah, that's what it is. But I don't bug on that. But you know, I don't know what to say, dude.
Whatever, man. Let's just end this shit. Take care, man. Good night.
Yo, dude, love you, Pete.
Love
Peace
you
to
too.
everybody out there listening. Everybody be good. Forward. Later.